Welcome back. We're just going to jump right into this video. This ROG Ally is really cool. I just want to, right off the top, I do not own an ROG Ally. My only experience I have with the ROG Ally is through the friend of mine who owns one. I have had a few hours playing with it, doing some testing, getting an overall initial impressions and stuff. So, just to be clear, I do not own one, and I do not have a great amount of experience with it long term. Just some initial impressions over the course of a few days. So now that's out of the way. The ROG Ally is a really cool device. I think it's probably the closest thing to a Steam Deck killer we've had in a while, at least in terms of price and performance. Certainly this thing is arguably substantially more powerful than the Steam Deck, but not perfect on the price. But we're getting to the point where it is getting more realistic to have these devices come out at more and more reasonable prices. At this point, nothing has been able to beat the Steam Deck in terms of its features, the build quality, and the price and the performance it offers. The ROG Ally is the closest thing. I would say one of the big downsides of the ROG Ally are the touchpads. I feel like the touchpads are such an important feature that the Steam Deck has over the ROG Ally. If the ROG Ally had those touchpads like the Steam Deck, it would be so much easier to navigate the Windows interface, because holy cow, does Windows suck if one of your main modes of interfacing with it is the touchscreen. And like, we had a problem when I was there when he was initially setting it up, and the screen wouldn't rotate back. It was stuck in portrait mode, so it was like a phone. It was really dumb, and we had to go into the settings and manually lock it and shit like that, change the resolution to properly fit the landscape form. So it was really weird, but not unexpected with these kinds of devices. There's always some level of jank. But aside from that initial jank, it was a relatively painless experience getting, drivers updated, installing games, apps, and stuff like that. Overall, it was not the worst experience I've ever seen setting up a new Windows device. But it could have been better, especially with the strange, interfacing stuff you gotta do, like touchscreens and the joysticks to mouse stuff. It's never fun to do it that way. Personally, one of my favorite ways companies have got around this sort of issue was this sort of air mouse situation that GPT has on their new Win 4 devices. It's really interesting, and I think that works relatively well, considering the touch surface that they have is incredibly small, but it feels so much better to use than directly using the touchscreen. I'm not saying the touchscreen isn't good, it's great, but it's just not always the easiest thing to use, given the fact that it's a Windows device. But overall performance was really impressive. Being able to play games like Starfield, Destiny 2 at relatively normal settings and resolutions, at 30 to 50 FPS depending on the settings in the game, was really impressive, and I was thoroughly shocked at how far, these handhelds have really come since the Steam Deck. And I feel like this ROG Ally is probably a arguably better device, but I don't think that necessarily means everyone should buy this over the Steam Deck quite yet. There's a lot of problems with the ROG Ally that haven't really been fixed. Like, it's killing micro SD cards with heat. That's not a good thing on a device that isn't easily upgradable like the Steam Deck. Yes, it can be, and yes, it's actually about the same level of difficulty maybe, but the Steam Deck comes, you don't have to upgrade. You could just use the micro SD card and not worry about it fucking melting or dying due to heat. It's a really bad thing if your device, it can get so hot it kills other components, especially ones that could hold important save data that isn't synced, because I know Minecraft doesn't sync its world saves to the cloud. Terraria doesn't sync that stuff to the cloud unless you enable it, which I always forget to enable it. So important save data and character data could be lost unknowingly if you use this device, which is a massive problem to me, because nothing's more important than the save data or the data you have on the SD card. And if the device you have it in could kill it, I just can't recommend it. That is just a huge flaw. I value my data so much, I can't risk it in that kind of a device. Even if it's rare or unlikely to happen, just because that can happen, I'm never going to do it. I never use third-party docks or third-party chargers for my Switch because of the chances that it could kill it. Yes, it's unlikely, maybe not even could happen, but because it has, and there's been a large enough documented cases of it, I simply can't trust it. There's no guarantee from Nintendo that it won't kill my device, so why would I even risk it? Especially with how dumb Nintendo is with their save data and game downloads being tied to the console is ridiculous. There's no amount of risk that can make me not think that's a bad idea. It's really dumb, and I can't recommend this device because of that. And it's just a really bad situation to have. But that massive red flag aside, the device is really cool. The design, the ergonomics are well built. It's a well built device, seriously. The shape of it, the ergonomics are top tier. It's a little sharp on the corners, like right at the edge where you put your palm in when you're playing the game. Especially if you have like larger hands, it's not necessarily probably the world's most comfortable thing like the Steam Deck. And especially if you don't have like big enough hands to make that stretch over to the A, B, X, Y buttons from the analog stick, because it's more of a traditional layout than the Steam Deck. I can see how this might be a little bit cumbersome. But overall, I think this is a well-built device, and it's great in that respect. The screen is fantastic, though I do not see then why it is necessary to have 120 Hz on this handheld device. You're never going to hit 120 Hz unless you're playing vintage or indie games or games that are super easy to run. Because, like, holy cow, it's really cool, but you don't really get to ever enjoy that or, get to have any competitive edge over other people because of it. I just feel like it's a needless drain on the battery life. I feel like the battery life could have been a lot better on this device. When you're playing any, of those games that aren't playable on Steam Deck or aren't good enough quality on the Steam Deck, games like Destiny 2, you can't play them because of anti-cheat problems. And that game probably gives you about like an hour and a half of battery life. Like, the battery life isn't great. And I admit the Steam Deck doesn't have good battery life either, depending on the games you play. But I feel like the ROG Ally, considering how it's like how much newer it is, how much time they probably spent developing this, it could have tried a little bit better on the battery life. It has like a 45 watt-hour battery, and that's the same size as the Steam Deck. And I feel like they could have put in a bigger battery, if I'm being honest. That was one of the major disappointments with this device, which I was hoping would have more battery life with this device over the Steam Deck. But that's fair. All these kinds of devices have generally really bad battery life. But in this case, I got there, the device was at like 100%. He just charged it up, and I got there, and I got in, did my testing, and the device died within the first like 2 hours of me being there doing my testing, and that shit was so annoying. I was like, come on, I have so much I need to test before, and so many things to check out so I can, do this video, that it was really inconvenient. It's really dumb, and it's very much a nitpick specifically for my use case because I don't own it. I do have very limited time with this device, so I need to be able to maximize it as much as I can. So the battery life was a major problem for me, but I could see if you own this every single day, not having to like sit there staring at it, waiting for it to charge up, that probably wouldn't be that big of a deal for you. Overall, the ROG Ally isn't the Steam Deck killer we expect it was going to be, but it's still a very solid device and an exceedingly premium option at a very solid price compared to its competitors, excluding the Steam Deck, because $600 and $700 isn't bad for the ROG Ally with the Z1 Extreme. This non-extreme ROG Ally isn't the same story, only being barely just a smidge more powerful than the Steam Deck, or worse in some cases. Don't buy that one, that's a bad one. Buy the Z1 Extreme. It is $100 more expensive than the most expensive model Steam Deck, but I think you can easily justify that if you have more games that would be more compatible in Windows than they would be on the Steam Deck. I feel like this device is less for the people who have a big Steam library and more for people who just have large video game libraries across platforms. Epic Games, the Microsoft Store, Battle.net, GOG, all those other game stores. So if you have like a large library of those games, this would be perfect for you. Like, the Steam Deck might not be able to play every game you own, especially newer titles or more multiplayer focused titles that have a bunch of anti-cheat that just haven't gotten with the times yet to work on the Steam Deck. So hopefully the people who get this device enjoy it. But just for me, I can't easily recommend this device unless you meet very specific requirements. So that's the video. What are your thoughts on the ROG Ally? Do you think it's better than the Steam Deck? Because I think that's fair, assuming you are the perfect person to, have it maximize your capabilities. But I don't think it works for most people. I think the Steam Deck would probably be overall a better choice due to its simpler and easier use and ability to play games on it. It's just a much more simplified and easy experience for the layman. But I would love to hear your thoughts down below. All that other social media garbage also down there. And don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And have a wonderful day.